When it comes to Destiny, movement is one of the major pillars that determines how good a player is. Sure, there are other factors and pillars that play a role. Game sense, yes. Good aim, hell yeah. Experience, you bet your ass you need experience. But without one of these, you are limiting yourself. This is why I harp on understanding the key pillars to becoming a great player. In recent videos, I've covered Advanced Hunter and Advanced Titan movements. Both videos focus on how you can take your movement to another level. Those videos will be linked down below. But today, we're going to be covering the Warlock movement. I've mentioned it in prior videos that each character has specific movements and techniques. But I feel like Warlocks have a bigger backpack for movement and strategy. From their blink mechanic to their Icarus Dash. This video will be covering all of that along with providing you tactics for improving those movements. But before we get into the Warlock movement guide, if you want to support the channel, you can do so by watching the entire video and sharing it with your friends. Both are free ways to support the channel, and if you enjoyed the video, feel free to click that subscribe button and turn on all notifications. And like all mastery videos, if this video gets 500 likes in the first 24 hours, I will keep this series going. So you have your goal, go smash it now, and let's get into the first part of the video. Before we get into any movement tactics, we need to understand how Warlocks move and how to get the most out of their movement. For starters, we need to understand which glide we'll be using to be fast and agile. To get the most out of your movement, I can only suggest you utilize the burst glide, which is going to give you a shorter burst but with better directional control. This is going to help you with lateral movements. As you can see on screen, combining this directional control with certain exotics can really make you an agile Warlock in the Crucible. Now, how do we get the most out of burst glide? Well, to build top speed, you're going to want to burst in a downward motion. You're going to want to jump without using any jump ability. And when you notice your character dropping back to the ground, this is when you activate your burst, thus having the burst bring you back to the ground at a much faster speed. Once you land on the ground, this is when you reactivate your jump. Remember, this is a non-ability jump, and repeat the process. It's going to feel like you're kind of spamming your space bar for the most part. So what you're doing is you're essentially letting momentum bring you down on top of killing your burst. After you activate your burst, kill it right away. Momentum's going to bring you down. The burst is going to bring you down. If done properly, you'll look something like this. This is what they call Warlock skating. You're essentially bursting back to the ground and kind of moving at a fast motion like this. This technique can be applied to all Warlock subclasses due to all subclasses having similar glides, with the exception of the blink ability. When it comes to movements like Icarus Dash, you first need to master the basic speed dash movement. Once you master that, then you can learn how to use that technique in ways to give you an advantage against your enemy. So for those who don't know, you can use Icarus Dash as a way to allow yourself to move across the map at a high rated speed. This is something you can use in cadence with your basic burst glide. I do want to mention for my console players, this may not be something that appeals to you, but later in the video, we will be going over techniques that can be performed on all platforms, so don't worry, I've got you covered. Now, the way to accomplish the dash is pretty simple. You're gonna wanna initiate your jump right at the time you're moving in a downwards motion. This is when you wanna activate your dash ability and press your jump at the same time. This will cause you to dash extremely far and fast. Don't worry if this takes you some time to master, because once you master it, it will become second nature. One thing I will suggest, for those wondering what is a good keybind for the dash ability, I primarily use my scroll wheel to dash. I found it to be pretty simple to just scroll up on my mouse and hit the spacebar at the same time. It wasn't anything difficult. I didn't have to press like Q and spacebar. Again, guys, the scroll wheel is right there on your right hand. It's pretty simple to hit it. So if you're looking for a good key binding, you're looking for a good dodge key binding, try utilizing your scroll wheel. It doesn't really matter, scroll up, scroll down. I will say performing some of the techniques we learned later in this video is much easier when I can just spacebar, scroll wheel. Again, guys, we'll get into that later in this video, but again, if you're looking for a good key binding, try the scroll wheel. Now, let's get into the blink technique, which can be found on the Void subclass. This one is pretty simple. There are 4 ways you can blink. You can blink back, you can blink up, you can blink at an angle, or you can blink forward. We are going to be focused on utilizing our blink to blink forward and cover as much ground as possible. The best way to perform this is similar to the basic burst glide we covered in the previous segment. After performing a normal jump with no abilities, when your body begins to move back down, and this is when you want to activate your blink technique. And as you can tell, if performed properly, you blinked forward. Again, you covered a lot of ground. And the best way to do this, once you master this, you just rinse and repeat and do it over and over again. One thing I do want to harp on is your blink does have a cooldown. You can use one blink and not be punished for it, but once you use 2 blinks back to back at a pretty fast rate, you will be limited. You will not be able to blink for a few seconds. So if you're engaging multiple enemies and you use a blink to close the gap, try to have one blink ready to escape, because if you blink twice into an enemy, you are stuck there. You are in that fight and you cannot escape. Later in this video, I'll give you my thoughts on blink and how they differ from PC and console. Now, moving into the exotic section, just like our other mastery videos, we talked about exotics that help with movement. You can find a lot of synergy between warlocks and their exotics, such as Wings of Sacred Dawn and Top Tree Dawnblade. But today we're not focusing on warlock synergy and their exotics. Today we're focusing on 2 exotics that can enhance your movement to give you the advantage on your enemy. Starting with the first warlock exotic, we have the transversus steps, which read: sprint speed is increased. After a short time sprinting, your current equipped weapon is automatically reloaded. One of the main reasons why this exotic is top tier is the additional sprint speed it provides. Something I've said in the past is that the faster you are sprinting, the further you will slide. A nice little addition there is also having your weapons reloaded is a pretty nice and convenient perk. It comes in handy a lot. Now, moving into our next exotic, we have the Astrocyte Burst. With the exotic perk Move to Survive, blink further and more frequently. Weapon readies quickly out of blink and radar remains up. Now, this exotic is great, but is only limited to 1 subclass and only 1 jump ability, which is going to be the blink ability. Now, getting into some basic movements and tactics you need to use when engaging your enemies. I will be breaking down this section into 3 different parts, so feel free to skip around, but I will say you don't want to miss out on any of these tips. For our first section, we are going to be focusing on the basic Warlock movement. Movement tactics that can be done on any subclass regardless of abilities like Icarus Dash or Blink. Let's begin with the first one, baiting. We all want to be the best at tricking our enemy to walk through a door without hesitation for an easy kill. Now, I've said it in the past, hunters are the best door baiters in the game due to their ability to activate a second jump on command. But don't let it fool you warlocks out there. You guys can do it too. Yes, baiting is harder when you have to glide over a door. Unlike hunters who can fully expose themselves, warlocks need to glide at an angle over a door. The reason for this is due to their activation of your glide and how it propels you on an upwards motion. Now, when I suggest angle gliding, you need to first read your radar and fully understand that your enemy may or may not enter that doorway. Once you are confident that your enemy is going to enter the doorway or the location that you're at, this is when you burst upwards and at an angle. This will allow you to hover the door. I will suggest that if your enemy doesn't enter the area, you need to deactivate your glide, and once you are exposed, you need to slide out of there. This will prevent you from being caught out in the open with your pants down. If you bait them properly, you now need to glide, and once you're above your enemy, you need to kill your glide and capitalize on the kill. So the best way to approach this is going to be burst in an upwards angled motion so you can hover a doorway. Remember, you can't always bait your enemies. Since some players have more experience than others, a good player can potentially catch you up in the air. On that note, for my guardians utilizing the Top Tree Dawnblade, I would suggest to use your dodges as a way to escape if your enemy engages you while you're trying to door bait them. If something like this happens, your best bet would be to deactivate your glide, and when you're dropping, use your dash to create space and escape. Now, movement isn't solely focused on being quick and using speed to kill. Movement in this video relates to positioning and how to approach your engagements. For Warlock, something that was taught to me by a friend and a fellow content creator, Apathetic, links to his channel down below. Something he harps on is using the Warlock's class ability tactfully. Something I want you to remember when you approach your next engagement. You're going to want to cover, peek, heal, and repeat. Good old CPH. For Warlocks, your best friend is cover. Unlike hunters who can go in the air and be acrobatic with their movement, and titans who try to get up in your face and punch you, Warlocks need to use cover as a way to amplify their class ability. For starters, before you begin your next engagement, move into cover before entering a doorway, especially when you're about to enter a big space or location. If you have been reading spawns correctly and you know your enemies will be approaching your location, find good cover, activate your healing rift, and peek fight. If you take damage, cover, heal, peek, and repeat and secure those kills. If done properly, you should be catching your enemies while they're trying to heal or escape. Remember that unless your enemies do the same thing and find cover right away, they will be damaged. Unlike you were able to regain some health because you jump back into your rift and behind cover. This is something that top tier players do. Rift placement is crucial. This is why if you play close to cover, you can always have two factors going for you: health and the ability to peek shoot. So remember, cover, peek, heal, repeat. Remember that movement isn't always about being quick, it's about being smart, using everything to your advantage and playing around the map tactfully. I do want to note one thing, that activating your rift is a great way to scan around a wall utilizing the third person mechanics. So again, if you pop your rift around cover, when you pop your rift, try to move your camera around and get a good visual of what's on the other side. Now, has there been times where you felt like you were moving too fast? Maybe you had too much momentum? This next tactic is a tactic I showed in my Titan movement video, but I would feel bad if I didn't display or demonstrate it for Warlocks. If you have your momentum going in one direction, you can completely stop it and use that speed to change directions. This can be easily done by changing your camera angle, and instead of activating your burst to propel you downwards, you're gonna activate your burst into a slide while changing your camera angle. This is a great way to change directions to avoid enemies and avoid locations you are entering. Now we are moving into more specific tactics, primarily focused on the top tree Dawnblade. This subclass has a lot of synergy with its subclass traits, but let's focus on Icarus Dash. For our tips and tactics in this portion of the video, we are going to be covering a variety of movements. Some may be simple and you might think it's common sense, but others might be a little bit more difficult to comprehend. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask them down below in the comment section. Something that you need to be doing is utilizing your Icarus Dash to cover ground and use your speed as a way to throw off your enemies. In game modes like Trials and Survival, players are glued to their radar, and by utilizing your speed to traverse the map quickly, you can now open up opportunities in which you can use proper flanks, which can either cause your enemies to focus on you due to you creating a ping on their radar, or this can allow you to get some easy cleanup kills. So use your dash to cover as much ground as possible, which can also lead to you getting to the first spot. If you know that you're going to be sniping against another sniper, using your Icarus Dash to get to that spot first can give you the advantage. But on that topic, Icarus Dash is a great tool to use as a way to escape any engagement. Maybe you took some damage, maybe you're one shot, maybe you got bodied by a revoker. Utilizing your Icarus Dash to book it and leave that area is a great way to survive. The dash is great for covering ground, but it's also a great tool for leaving areas. Next, how many times have you been caught off guard by an enemy that just appeared in front of your face? I'm sure we've all been there. Using your dash to create space is a great tactic that can allow you to get out of some sticky situations. It's as simple as it sounds: create space. What you want to do is jump without activating any burst, and now use your dash to create space. As you can see on screen, if I'm face to face with my enemy and I feel like I'm not going to win this engagement, I can create space by utilizing my dash to move backwards. I would hesitate to use two dashes to create space, and the reason for that is if you need to disengage or dodge and leave the area, your second dash can help you do that. Rather than being on a 5-second cooldown, utilizing one dash and saving the second dash is a great tactic. But hey, if you need to create that much gap between you and your enemy, then yes, use two dashes. But on the topic of creating space, we can also utilize the Icarus Dash to close the gap. But keeping in mind, weapon discipline is huge when you try to close the gap or create space. I'm sure some of you are wondering what weapon discipline and Icarus Dash have in common. Well, look at it like this. If I am far away from my target, what I need to do is have my hand cannon or my auto rifle out. I need to prime them first with my primary weapon. If I decide to close the gap, weapon discipline kicks in, I need to have my shotgun out ready to go. So when I close the gap, I dash forward to close the gap on my enemy. All I have to do right now is fire my shotgun and get an easy kill. But the same goes for if you're gonna create space. If I need to create space and I shoot my target with my shotgun and they're not dead, when I'm creating space, I need to switch to my primary weapon, if that be a hand cannon or auto rifle. And the reason for that is because it is easier to clean up a target like that. Because if I'm this far away from my target, why would I still try to fight with my shotgun? This is why weapon discipline is huge when it comes to creating space and closing the gap. Now, something I see a lot of top tier players doing is doubling back. How many times have you turned a corner and seen multiple snipers hard scoping? Let's be frank, it's Destiny 2, guys. Come on, I'm sure we've seen that very often. Just like a hunter who can use their dodge ability in scenarios like this, Warlocks need to do the same with their dash. Use your dash as a way to escape bad situations. It's kind of like your get out of jail free card. See a bad situation? Dash, stay alive. Remember that you don't need to be floating to activate your dash. You can simply activate your dash by using a basic jump. Just get off the ground and dash. So if you see something like this, jump, dash, survive. You're just like a hunter now. Now switching gears, a more aggressive player can use their dash as a way to engage multiple players. Do keep in mind that some of the scenarios you see in the background are controlled environments. But with controlled environments, there are great ways to show and teach players on how things look rather than something chaotic in game. So something you may want to try next time is dashing into multiple targets. Dash into one target, get an easy kill, dash into your next target and get an easy kill. Or secure the first kill, dash to your next target, get a kill, dash out of there. Now for my console players, you are limited to how much FOV you're allowed. But this shouldn't discourage you from utilizing the top tree Dawn Blade. As someone who plays console, I can tell you that being able to dash behind an enemy is doable. Yes, you can do this on PC as well, but you will be more successful on console due to the limited FOV. This one is very simple. You need to read your radar properly. Once you feel like your enemy is going to ape you, this is when you jump and dash over their head. It's been done, guys. I did it all the time on console. You can do this. I've said it many times in the past. Players who use the controller have a hard time looking up. So something like this, you need to keep in your arsenal. Try dashing over your enemy and getting behind them. Now switching gears and moving into the subclass trait, Heat Rises. I'm only going to cover a few simple tips with Heat Rises. Heat Rises is a passive Warlock ability that reads, hold to consume your grenade energy, to extend glide time and improve in-air accuracy. For starters, anybody utilizing Heat Rises, please check your airspace before activating Heat Rises. So many times I've seen Guardians activate Heat Rises and get caught in the ceiling, all because they forgot to check the headspace above. Now, when you have Heat Rises active, you are still limited to 2 dodges in the air. So with that in mind, you always want to have a dodge ready to go for when you're being fired upon or if your enemy spots you in the air. You can always kill your glide and use your dodge to survive from taking fire. Also, activating Heat Rises to get off the map is huge. Getting off the map and getting angles that your enemies won't ever predict or expect is a great way to capitalize on some easy kills. As you can tell on screen, maps like Dead Cliffs have areas where you can glide off the map. This is where you get off the map a little bit, you fire a couple shots and use your dodges to get back onto the map. This is going to give you a huge advantage on your enemies. Lastly, something players tend to overlook or forget is when Heat Rises is active, you now have improved accuracy, which is great for anyone going to the air and sniping. Overall, guys, I'm a huge fan of the perk, and it's something that if you don't use very often or at all, it's something you need to add to your bag of tricks. Now, moving away from top tree Dawn Blade and into the blink section, let's talk about some of the cool things you can do with blink. Let me start off with this disclaimer. Blink isn't the best movement if you're looking to be competitive, but it's good for fun game modes such as Iron Banner and Control. I will be making a few suggestions in this section on how to optimize blink for a better crucible experience. Also, you will be more successful with blink on console than PC, mainly due to input device and a smaller FOV compared to PC. On PC, you can still be very effective, but with the ability to track players with the mouse, I feel like good players won't have a hard time tracking the blink. A lot of players say gone are the times from Destiny 1 of the blink shoddy players, which I find that to be false, especially in console. This is why in the exotic segment of the video, I mentioned that Astrocyte Verse and Transversive Steps are great exotics to pair with blink. Don't underestimate the ability to close the gap on your enemy by forward blinking at them and getting an easy shotgun kill or shotgun melee kill. As for blink with Transversive Steps, this is a really slept on pairing. Having the increased mobility from the Transversive Steps paired alongside the forward blink, you'll feel as if you're moving around the map on ice skates. If you're someone who likes to use the blink ability, a tactic I use often when utilizing this ability is to push through entrances that are being hard scoped. This is a great tactic that works in multiple ways. It's a good way to throw off any snipers who are expecting a player to walk through a door. All you have to do is just blink through the doorway using the forward blink. This right here is going to be a great way to throw off any snipers, and again, it is a great distraction. They're going to be hyper focused on you that just blink through the doorway, allowing your teammates to go into that room uncontested and there for some easy cleanup kills. Just like the Icarus Dash ability, which can be used to get behind your enemy, you can do something similar with blink. Due to its unpredictable movements, if executed properly, you can get the upper hand on your enemy. All you have to do is blink up. If you blink up right before your enemy engages you, you can now land on top of them or behind them to capitalize on the kill. Again, it goes back into the whole console segment here, guys. If you do this on console, you can be very, very successful with this. Lastly, I can't harp on this enough. I mentioned this in an earlier segment, but you do not want to spam Blink. Blink is a fun ability, but you can really leave yourself out to dry against opponents if you run out of blinks. So if you can, save a blink in your pocket for those oh shoot moments I need to escape. To close out the blink section, one last thing I do want to mention. For those going against anyone with a mountaintop, blink is such a fun movement to counter it. Reading your enemy and timing their shot can give you the advantage to close the gap with a forward blink. If you can time their shot properly, you can blink all the way up in their face and catch them in a reload and capitalize on the kill. Warlocks have so many tools at their disposal, from different jump abilities all the way to their exotic synergy. But movement can only take you so far. You will come to a fork in the road and you have to master another technique, such as movement mastery and special weapons. If you are a player struggling with shotguns and you want to incorporate shotgun mastery into your movement, then I suggest you watch the shotgun mastery video where I go over the best tips and tactics for anyone looking to improve with the shotgun. But hey, maybe you aren't someone who needs help mastering a shotgun. Maybe you need to improve in a different part of the game. If so, I also made a video talking about the 3 pillars of a great player, which I break down some of the best training tools you can use daily to improve your progress in any PvP game. Both of those videos can be found on screen. Again, I can't thank you enough for supporting me all these years on YouTube. Making YouTube content for all of you has really made me appreciate all the comments I receive on videos. If you haven't followed me on Twitch, head over there right now and jump into my chat and let's talk. Remember, don't forget to share this video, like, subscribe, and like always, you have yourself a good day, and I'll see you in the next video.